Last Wednesday, 4 Republican members of Congress held a press conference demanding that the House Sergeant-at-Arms investigate CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations. They said they wanted an investigation because they said CAIR had hatched a secret plot to try to place interns on Capitol Hill. Muslim interns.
Author Paul Sperry and his co-authors investigative team have unearthed the 2007 memo written by CAIR, which documents their stated intentions and goals to place interns in congressional offices.
The book which Sue referred to, Muslim Mafia, is one in a series of books that I would encourage Americans to read.
I did write the foreword for the book.
I did write the foreword to the book. The being an intern while being Muslim accusations come from a new book that is published by WorldNet Daily. WorldNet Daily is the website best known for conspiracy theories about things like healthcare reform and like the Obama administration secretly planning to round up conservatives to put them in concentration camps. If this were just about WorldNet Daily pushing another kooky conspiracy theory, this one that Muslims were trying to take over Washington, starting with the intern jobs, that would be a dog bites man story about the conservative movement and its fringes in the age of Obama. But this is 4 sitting members of Congress pushing this idea. Joining us now is Suhail Khan. He's the Fellow for Christian-Muslim Understanding at the Institute for Global Engagement. He's a former senior political appointee in the administration of President George W. Bush. Mr. Khan, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Rachel.
As I said, if this were just WorldNet Daily, we wouldn't be covering this story, but it's 4 serving members of Congress. And I understand that you think these allegations are not only concerning, but that you've seen this before.
Fortunately, we have. It's disgusting, it's sad, and we have, particularly after 9/11, these same professional bigots, is what I call them, have gone after other Muslim Americans serving their government. In the past, it was in the Bush administration when I was serving, and now they're going after Muslim staffers, starting with interns. I guess if you know how to make coffee and answer the phone, next thing you do, you'll be taking over the world. So,
who are the professional bigots that you mean?
Well, there's the authors of this book. They've been joined by others on the internet, and it's really invidious because not only do they go after these innocent Americans who just want to serve their country, but really they're making money off of it, and that's what this is all about, really. They've duped these members of Congress, pushed them out in traffic on these charges that are completely baseless, really to sell books. And that's what it is. It's about fear-mongering and about money. It was interesting that they actually had their press conference a couple days before the book release. I mean, if this was really about national security, you'd go to the authorities and say, you got to stop something and stop it now. No, this is about going to the media and trying to sell books. It's really sad.
That was one of the important details today, followed up by Talking Points memo, reported that these 4 members of Congress, after they made the demand that the Sergeant-at-Arms investigate CAIR for these interns, these 4 members of Congress didn't actually make the request to the Sergeant-at-Arms to investigate, which implies that they're more motivated by the PR effect of scaremongering about this than they are about any real perceived harm.
That's right. Yeah. And it's sad, and it has a real effect. Not only does it scare members of Congress and their chief of staffs to hire Muslim Americans who otherwise would be great and loyal Americans serving in their office and serving their country, but even those that are working there now are being called in sometimes by their chief of staff. I know of one instance where this has happened, and they're being questioned and saying, hey, is there any of this true? Is there any truth to it? And worse, if you're a kid out in Peoria or in California, my home state, and you're thinking about going into public service, you might say, hey, maybe I'll just, stay home and stay here and work locally in the private sector because maybe serving my country isn't what I should be doing right now, because who needs this kind of scrutiny? It's just really disgusting. The good news is it's only 4 members of Congress. You haven't seen the Republican leader out there. You haven't seen Mr. McConnell in the Senate out there joining these guys. So it's really that they've been duped by these professional racists out there, and I think if we can work with them, I plan to talk to them and try to educate them about the realities.
That's a generous take toward these 4 members of Congress. I mean, Sue Myrick wrote the foreword to this book, it seems to me that it is important for Republican politics and conservative politics and American politics, broadly speaking, that there be someone in leadership who's willing to call out stuff like this and who'd be willing either to discipline or bring back onto the reservation these 4 members of Congress who have gone this way. Do they not bear some responsibility, though, for having followed this path thus far and for having given this scaremongering press conference.
They do. They bear responsibility, and we've seen this before. You know, whether it was Jewish Americans at the turn of the century, Italian-American Catholics. We saw the hate during the 1960 election with President Kennedy. Unfortunately, at different times in our histories, some, very select few, have fear-mongered and tried to raise a specter of fear about different Americans, whether they be Mormons, Catholics, Jewish Americans, and now, after 9/11, it's Muslim Americans. And so I think, and you saw even this last election, when there were issues raised about Mitt Romney, about Barack Obama and his faith.
Right.
And it took a hero like Colin Powell, if you recall, to get up and say, stand up and say, this has got to stop. We're all Americans here, and we need to stand together as Americans.
Suhail Khan, fellow at the Institute for Global Engagement, a former senior political appointee in the George W. Bush administration. I didn't have anything to do with this, but as an American, I'm sorry.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.